amazing, amazing gentleman. This is Jesse, and he blew me away, and I'm so excited for his talk.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Record? Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm here to talk about how ADHD and the science of ADHD can help us all understand and be more effective and happy in our lives. So early in my career, I was living in Palo Alto, working in San Francisco, and I was building a career in tech when one day I went surfing, and a rogue surfboard shot out, hit me in the face, and shattered the ocular bones around my eye. And I'm physically put back together. This is all titanium, but I had significant brain damage, and I started to think a lot about what would it look like if we built our life based on the shape, structure, and the efficacy of our brains. If we thought about what actually works for us, and then we built our lives around that. And as I started to think about the physical differences I had after the brain injury, I started to think more seriously about the physical differences that I had my whole life in terms of ADHD and learning differences. So this is not just about ADHD. There's this other thing that we're seeing in that people who don't have ADHD, who aren't born with it, are having ADHD-like symptoms because of the intense overload dopamine rushes that we're getting from social media, from video games. Our lives are being, and our attention is being pulled and sapped, and we're starting to have symptoms that look like ADHD. So it's obviously a huge topic, but I want to focus on just one piece today. It's the piece that I think is the most important. So this is what I do for work. I help people with ADHD, with attention challenges, build their life around their brain, understanding what works specifically for them. So what is dopamine? Dopamine is, for our purposes, like the gasoline of the brain. It's the thing that allows us to go forward into the world. If you have too much, you can't stop. If you have too little, you can't go even if you want to. It's not a question of character or value. It is a question of your capacity. Too little dopamine, can't go. So the problem is that we're getting dopamine from everything in life. Dopamine is supposed to be our reward for doing hard things, for doing big things, for having long-term plans. The problem is we're getting it all the reward without the effort. So you can get the same dopamine from your phone at any moment. Why would you go out and do hard things? Why would you try to do big things that are challenging? And so we're starting to get pulled away from that essential piece of that moves us forward into life. So how do we fix it? How do we live in a world where we can no longer count on dopamine to pull us forward and help us accomplish our goals? We need to fall in love with our lives. That tangibly means we need to get dopamine from the things that are happening right now. We can no longer count on our big picture goals to pull us forward. We need to fall in love with what's happening right now. And there's a lot of ways to do that. So our life situation and our capacity is right at the intersection of our situation, our biology, and our personality. And that's why it's intensely personal and it's extremely specific. What works for you will only work for you. And so we need to figure out exactly what works for your brain. I'm going to break this into two pieces, both process and purpose. So process. We like to think about life as these specific things that you've accomplished. I went to high school, I went to college, I got this car, I bought these things, these static moments. That's not the way our brain sees the world. Our brain sees the world in action, and dynamically. So we need to figure out what is the action that your brain likes to be doing. Is it communicating? Is it building? Is it problem solving? What does your brain like to do? What action gives you dopamine? Here's a quick example of a client who allowed me to share this thing. He's a successful journalist, now working in a startup, and he's really effective at work, but wants to write this book, but he feels like it's his life's work, but when he gets home, he can't do anything. And so we went through his whole life, whether it was in gardening, his work as a journalist, even just watching the markets. The thing that his brain loved, the active process, was bringing in a ton of information, synthesizing it, and coming to conclusions in real time. So just looking at a blank page all day was a nightmare. So what we did is we rebuilt his process so he was synthesizing and becoming effective while he was writing at the same time. The second piece is meaning, equally important. Not just what happens, but what we feel about it. If our lives are like the things that happen like the lines in the coloring book, the meaning is the color. And it's equally important for the dopamine that our life gives us is how we feel about things. So understanding the meaning and the purpose of our lives, the things that move us forward, is essential. It's the purpose and the meaning that we get from life is essential for understanding how we can be our best selves. So this, for the same client, whether it was in high school, as a minority in the school, making the varsity team, or writing really controversial plays that inspired people, he loves shocking people into believing that new systems are possible, that new ideas, new ways of understanding are possible. And so we reshaped the shape of his book, we reshaped the process, and suddenly writing doesn't feel like an albatross because the actual process, the things that he's doing every single day, are moving him in the right direction. So what does it mean to build your life around your brain? It's understanding the biology of the brain, understanding your biology, your life, the things that matter to you, your purposes, these big ethereal ideas that are biologically and tangibly important. So thank you guys for your attention. Thank you so much, Teddy. It was really fun.